Hello, this is editing Melinda. I don't know if you noticed in the first couple minutes of this video, but I certainly noticed that this is, where am I? This high tipping daddy situation. I'm a spicy streamer and I forgot. I used OBS to film these, so like I forgot to take this down. That's what that is. I'm so sorry. I was halfway editing and I was like, what the hell? What the helly? And that's what it is. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Raise Mary Hell podcast. I am your host, Melinda Black, and we have been reading Manacled on this podcast lately, just like audiobook format. I don't even do any real special editing, especially because if I did, I'm pretty sure my computer would explode. Previous to that, we were reading Spooky Scary Stories, and we ended Spooky Scary Stories off on Baraska, which took me fucking forever, by the way. And we're still going to continue our way through Manacled. I even read the first couple chapters of my own novel, The Vicious Cycle, which will be coming out probably later this year, if you want to check that out. I forget what it's actually called because it's not called The Vicious Cycle. It is called, my back hurts so freaking badly right now. It is called Heaven is a Lie, Here's What I Saw. That is my writing. The rest of everything on this podcast are just things that I like and wanted to read, so I made them into an audiobook. But the reason why you're seeing my face today is because we're going to continue on the Dramione Files trajectory that we've been going on. However, I want to do this a little different. So basically I saw this thing on Reddit, on the Dramione Reddit, and I was like, oh my god, I want to read that. And anyways, I was just streaming because as some of you guys know, I am a spicy streamer to fund my writing and everything that I produce here on the internet, and it was not going well, so I was like, I need to do something else, I think, right now. And I was thinking that the next thing I read on my podcast, I did want it to do it a little different, and I wanted to like kind of read it together and like kind of react to it with you guys. So yeah, I figured I would go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and read you the Reddit post, and basically it says Harry/Hermione affair, but Hermione is endgame, and it's under the tag "Help me ID this fic." And here's what it says. Hi all. I'm having an absolute mind blank. A couple years ago I read a fic with the above premise. Basically, Harry and Hermione have been having an affair for a while behind Ginny's back. Once Hermione begins a relationship with Draco, Harry loses his shit and the secret is revealed. I've had the name on the tip of my tongue all day, and I thought surely someone would know what I'm talking about. Thank you in advance. Now this was 36 days ago, and when they first posted it, I was following it, and no one seemed to know exactly what this OP was talking about, and it seems like somebody did find the fic, but it was never verified by the OP. So I am going to go ahead and look and see the comments. Okay, the last time OP commented on anything, it was a year ago, so obviously they are not very active. So they just dropped this bomb of what could possibly be a toxic great fanfic and then didn't confirm. So 35 days ago, Disastrous Handle 283 said, was it unbecoming by madrose_writing? The opening scene is at the gala. Summary. What do the golden boy and the silver serpent have in common? One Gryffindor princess. And she has them both wrapped around her finger. And then someone else commented, this is what I thought it was too. So we're going to read Unbecoming, and we're going to see if this is that fanfic, because I desperately want to read it. It sounds, quite frankly, so toxic and great. Okay, it's actually not even very long. It's only 77,000 words. The notes are, I am on TikTok as madrose_writing, so if you plan on sharing my content in any way, please tag me. Hello, Madrose. We're reading your content. I will tag you down below. And she or they also say, currently, I do not give permission to have this or any of my fics bound, which apparently you shouldn't really bind fanfics anyway. Although I have bound Manacled because, you know. Okay, let's begin, shall we? And react to this together. Also, I'm so sorry if you can hear my air conditioner. It is so freaking hot. Should I shut it off? It's 75 degrees out right now. I guess I will shut it off so you could hear me better. I'm sorry. Now the plumber will really be able to hear me. One of the perks of leaving the ministry was having to go to less events such as this one. She would much rather be at home reading a book in front of her fireplace than here. There was too much fake chatter as people exchanged pleasantries about the weather or whatever else they wanted to pass off as small talk. Not for the first time, Hermione tapped her beaded bag with the undetectable expanding charm and wondered how soon was too soon to take the edge off her way. Oh, so she's looking to get drunk, I guess. A serving tray floated through the air with champagne flutes, and Hermione grabbed one immediately. As usual, whenever he entered the room, is it Draco? Her body shuddered with anticipation. She took a deep drink from her glass. Oh my god, I'm gonna throw up. Okay. Missing the days where alcohol actually did something to her system. Okay, alcoholic queen, I guess. On cue, the rest of the room took notice of his presence, and all the attention was focused on the entry. Even after all, fuck, it's Harry Potter. Fucking the boy who lived. I don't know why. I just, don't care about him. I don't care about him. I know the whole series is literally Harry Potter and the blah, blah, blah. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. But, oh, man, Golden Boy, so annoying. He's like a freaking Boy Scout. I knew this was, I knew that they're going to be fighting over Hermione, but, also... After all these years, Harry Potter still wasn't comfortable with all the attention. Somehow, I doubt that. He was much more accustomed to it, but he still wished he would be able to blend in freely like the rest of them. Of course, not many would ever guess that about him. Hermione snorted at the thought and watched through the crowd as her longtime friend greeted those around him. She sipped at her flute as she watched the way his fingers slid across his wife's shoulders as he removed her coat. Even from here, she could feel them dancing across her own. Oh, they're fucking. We read the description and I'm still shocked. See, this is why spoilers literally don't even matter to me. Goose flesh picked at her skin and her gaze lifted slightly, brown eyes clashing with green. Her breath caught in her throat, and she nodded in greeting and then turned away. There was no rush in seeking him out. One way or another, their paths would cross. They always did. In the meantime, they would both put on the same song and dance expected of them. He would spend most of his time with Ginny and the coordinators of the event. When his arrival wasn't the center of attention anymore, he would slip away and she would follow. Messy. Until that time, she decided she needed another hit. A hit of what? Hermione finished her glass and set it on whatever surface was closest to her. She turned in the direction of the loo and stopped at the sight of Lavender. Hermione, the other girl stammered. Miss Weasley, she greeted. Oh, did Lavender marry Mr. Weasley? Oh, Ronald Weasley. Fucking traitor. I don't like Ronald, so. Once upon a time, the brunette before her was so jealous of Hermione that she nearly ended the Golden Trio by making Ron choose. In that same time, Hermione had been devastated. Now Lavender was terrified of her, thinking she had stolen Ron away in the end. Hermione laughed inwardly every time. She had assured her, time and time again, that their departure had been mutual, that his being with Lavender, while they were technically together, was nothing. Oh, fucking Ronald. I'm not surprised. He hadn't been the only unfaithful one. Messy. I didn't think you would come, she said weakly. I wasn't going to, but since it's a fundraiser for the care of magical creatures, I figured I should finally show up to one. Kingsley asked me. Her eyes flickered towards the hallway, fingers tapping her bag. The potion was wearing off. How are you? I'm doing rather well, thank you. Hermione took a moment to look at the deep ridges of fused flesh that ran the length of her face, neck, and disappeared into her neckline. A reminder of the war. Whatever new potion they're trying, it's really working. Lavender squirmed uncomfortably, but blushed a little at the compliment. Thank you, Hermione. It really has helped. They weren't sure since it was, Greyback. A werewolf. One of the survivors, Lavender, was one of the extremely lucky ones. I'll find you and Ron later. I really need the loo. Excuse me, she said and slipped through the rest of the crowd, down the hallway to the bathrooms. She forced herself to remain steady, but the moment the door was closed, she gripped her wand with trembling fingers and yanked open the beaded bag. She summoned the vial and brought it to her lips so fast it clanked against her teeth. She gulped it down greedily and sighed as it took effect. She would have to worry about the fact that was her last dose tomorrow. This would at least get her through the night, and if it didn't, at least she had a little bit of dreamless sleep left for when she got home. Besides, if it didn't last through the night, she would have a bigger problem at hand. What is it? Is it drug? Is it drug? It's like morphling. She dropped the empty vial back into the bag and leaned against the counter after turning on the sink. She stared at herself in the mirror. Her vision had a golden haze at the edge, and whenever she moved her body, felt as though it was just gliding through air. If flying felt the way potions did, she wouldn't mind it. My neighbors just screamed, "Oh my god, I agree. Hermione, the drug addict." She turned off the water and dried her hands. One last adjustment to her clothes, and look at herself before opening the door. However, instead of stepping into the hall, she found herself being ushered back inside a small room. Harry latched the door behind him. A second before she lunged forward, she pinned him between her body and the door. Her hand shot up to delve into his ever messy brown locks, tugging his head down to her level. She mashed their lips together and hissed as his fingers dug so hard into her sides she was sure they would bruise. She took his lower lip between her teeth, and he groaned at the mix of pleasure and pain it brought. He pulled his head back, and her lips simply trailed down his neck, nipping and licking until she found the sweet spot. He licked his lips, the familiar taste of her favorite potion, and his blood on his tongue. For a moment, he worried about her, but his thoughts blurred as her hand cupped his swollen length over his clothes. We have to hurry. She nipped harder than before, don't we always? Hermione. I know. Harry. Maybe you shouldn't have married Ginny, and you should have just been with Hermione. She said and made a quick work of undoing his belt and fly. Maybe we could do a round 2 tonight, she whispered hopefully, as she shoved his clothes down his legs, enjoying the way his cock twitched as she brushed it with her palm. I don't think I've ever thought about Harry Potter's penis until this very moment. Draco, yeah. Harry? No. Little bitch Harry is. A startled cry escaped her lips as he as he spun her with such force it made her dizzy. He slammed her against the counter and reached for her skirt. She widened her stance as he bunched the material high at her waist. Maybe, he muttered. She smirked at the catch in his breath when he discovered her lack of knickers. She felt a finger slide between her folds and bit down on her bottom lip, making sure she was sufficiently wet and happy with the results. Oh, it's making me cringe because I don't really like them together. I don't know who Harry should be with, but it's not. I don't think it's Hermione. He positioned himself right and slammed himself into her. Man, you didn't even try to nudge it in there a little. No, just complete, just, Hermione cried out, a sound that was stifled by his hand over her mouth. They had been doing this long enough to know each other's bodies like their own. How long have they been doing this? He would always bring her to oblivion and back in just a few strokes. Really? No matter how much she wished it would take even a few extra moments, it was always rushed. But neither of them ever left the encounters unsatisfied. From her vantage point, she could see him pumping away at her, behind in the mirror. He looked up and caught her stare in the reflection. "Merlin, Hermione," he hissed, taking in the sight of her. "Harry." His gaze never left hers, as they both reached their peak. He collapsed for a moment on her back, pressing her further against the counter. They both panted for air from their exertion. All too soon, he was pulling away from her. He used his wand to clean them both up, erase all evidence of their coupling. She used hers to conceal the bruise on his neck and the bite on his lip. He cupped her face tenderly and kissed her in the same manner. "I'll try and slip away again if I can," his forehead resting against hers. "But no promises, I know." He kissed her again and then ducked out of the loo, leaving her... I thought it wasn't the loo. I thought it was just a room. Oh, no, maybe it was Lou. Okay, sorry. Leaving Hermione alone again. As always, she waited a few minutes, mostly to regain her composure, always thankful for the potion in her system. When enough time had passed, she left the room. She considered mingling with others in the moment. She left the hallway. She was rewarded with Ginny's arm around Harry's waist. He caught her gaze, only to quickly avert it. With that, she made her way to the bar. Double whiskey. Neat. She barked to the woman behind the bar. Make that 2. Oh, Draco. Hermione turned her head to see Draco Malfoy fall into place at her side. He placed a few galleons on the bar, enough for both glasses. Never thought you'd come to one of these again, she said. Hence the reason I need a double. What's your reason? I could tell you, but I'm afraid I'd have to obliviate you right after. I thought as much. The glasses appeared in front of them, and they clinked them together before draining the first half. How have you been? He asked, as they took up the bar stools at the end of the bar. Can't complain too much, you? People have told me I do complain too much, he said with a grin. How's Astoria? Oh, yeah, that's right. I guess I guess in this instance he would be with Astoria. Oh, wait! Last I heard, not too bad. She and her husband both live in South America now, I think. What? Okay, never mind. I lied. Her husband? Same. What the hell? He raised a pale blonde brow at her. How long has it been since you and I last saw each other, Granger? Don't you ever read the Prophet? I try my hardest to steer clear of that rubbish, she replied, taking a sip. The last I saw you was at your engagement party to Astoria. Merlin, that was nearly 3 years ago. Hydration break. She scrunched her face as she thought about it. I guess it was. She finished the rest of her glass and signaled for another. Makes sense. We're not exactly friends. We should change that. Okay, Draco. Her eyes met his and saw a flash in those silvery orbs. We sort of did. He rolled his eyes, and she let herself glance at his lips for a moment. Okay, they fucked. Damn, Hermione is getting around in this. I didn't know if being court ordered to attend my last year at Hogwarts with you as my tutor counts. No offense. Okay. Never mind. She waved her hand and finished the second glass. You were the world's biggest prat, Malfoy, but you were never dumb. Compared to Ron and Harry, you were a breeze to tutor. Besides, it was harder on me than you. The moment passed between them as they remembered their year in close capacity. Oh my God, she had a stroke. The war had changed them both, and by the time they started, and Hermione was told she was in charge of making sure he passed, or he would go to Azkaban. Oh, pass Hogwarts or go to jail. That makes sense. She had already put aside her animosity for him. He had appeared to do the same. They had more than once witnessed each other dealing with their own demons. Neither of them ever bringing up in the light of day. He studied her as she played with her empty glass. There was something off about her. He never pegged her for one to look down at liquor in quite such a manner. The faraway look in her eye made him aware there was more going on under that stony surface of her. What do you say we get out of here and get reacquainted? He offered. He hoped that by taking her out of this place, it might ease her nerves. Or do you want to put it down? She threw her head back and laughed. That's your pickup line, she teased. The legendary silver-tongued Draco Malfoy. You could do better. I assure you, Granger, if that was my intention, the line would have been indeed much better. Is that so? What would you have said? There you are. Hermione stilled as Harry came over to them. His arm was linked with his wife, and they were beaming. We came to see what was so funny, Ginny said, smiling at them. Ah, the golden boy himself, Malfoy said. And the Weaslette! Draco, he greeted. Just catching up. Something from the last year at Hogwarts, Hermione said, and she chugged her third glass. Then she gets up, and Hermione, she swayed, but Malfoy was there to catch her. His hand hit the small of her back, and he took note of the look that passed between the boy who lived and the Gryffindor princess. He looked at Ginny to see if she noticed, but it was clear that she hadn't. Malfoy and I were leaving, she added. Hermione. We'll catch up at the Burrow next week for James's birthday, Ginny said, a touch of worry in her voice, seeing her friend this way. Of course, see you then. Oh, and fucking Harry and Ginny have a baby. I blame Harry. Always blame the men. Oh my God, my nose is running. Also, it is now too hot to continue without the air conditioner, so sorry in advance. I will say shout out to this author because she does get into it right away. It's messy right away. Okay, so then Hermione and Draco go outside. Where to? She asked. And they're on the streets of Muggle London. And then Malfoy stops and watches her as she swayed on her feet. Maybe we ought to get you home. She rolled her eyes. You're the one who suggested we get reacquainted. And then she steps towards him, but she's drunk. He did nothing as she approached. Like a lioness stalking her prey, she reached up and wound his tie through her fingers, pulling him closer. Curious as he was to see if she would follow through, he would never want to take advantage of her. Oh, sweet boy. With the amount of fire whiskey in her system, he was asking for trouble. With his better judgment, he placed his hands on hers and smiled kindly down at her. That wasn't what I meant, Granger. Suit yourself, she said, and she walked away from him. And then he said, You'll get yourself home all right, she said. I always do. After another step, he heard the familiar pop of aberration, and in the blink of an eye, she was gone. Oh, I like it. Okay, the next chapter isn't so long, and I'm not going to read. I think I am going to just not read it, like, line by line. I'm just going to kind of, like, we'll swing it, okay? The second chapter is called Enigma. So it's been a week since the fundraiser. Well, almost a week. It's been 6 days. And this is actually Draco's POV, and each day, he's been spending all his time wondering if Granger had made it home without splinching herself. And then he's wondering if she sought another man's bed, since he denied her. And more importantly, he refused to think about why he cared. But, needless to say, by the time Friday rolled around, he was more than ready to seek reprieve from the week at Theo's. His former classmate had been one of the few people from his year that not only went back for the last year to pass the Newts, but had also become his best friend. Aww, Draco has a bestie. But up until the war was over, so basically he only thought that Crabbe and Goyle were his friends. He knew now that they were only his lackeys, not his real friends. Well, obviously. But he's basically saying that Theo is his real bestie. But he knew that going to Theo's meant that he would see people that he would rather not see again, the main one being Pansy Parkinson. She had grown quite a bit from our school days, but she still managed to retain some notion that they were meant to be together. For a fleeting second, he entertained the idea of using her as a distraction from Granger. Merlin, I need a drink, he mumbled to himself. There was still an hour to the workday left, but a perk of being the owner was that he could leave whenever he wanted. And whatever, he apparated home. He takes a shower, and while he's naked in the shower, he's thinking of Granger for the 100th time that afternoon. And now he's closing his eyes, and as he remembered the way his fingers had curled around his tie, the desire in her eyes as she propositioned him. And, and then he does what men do when they're alone in the shower. And then he fantasizes about what he would have done if he had brought her home. And her hand was wrapped around his member, Then he's thinking about what her skin might taste like, knowing he would have sampled every part of her she offered. His breath hitched, and he adjusted his stance to make sure he didn't slip. Aw, if he had brought her home, he would have taken his sweet time with her, unlike fucking Harry motherfucking Potter, who just literally 1-2. Hermione, girl, what are you doing? Why would you let a man ever use you like that? Oh, a few more strokes, and he was spilling his seed. I love that verbiage. Seed. Fertilize me. Oh, and now he's laughing bitterly at himself, as if she would ever agree to come home with him. Oh boy, you're so sexy. Don't write yourself off. The only good thing to come of this was that he would be less inclined to seek Pansy in that manner. He shuddered at the idea and finished his shower. Damn, okay, poor Pansy. Okay, so apparently there is some people over at Theo's, and Pansy and Zambini were one of them, or were two of them, rather. How was the gala? Pansy asked. Boring as usual. Just went long enough for people to notice me and make my donation to Kingsley. Did you bring a date? He shook his head. And spark that tabloid headline? No, thank you. I could have gone with you, Draco. I'm always down to be your +1. And then Pansy moves closer to him, and she's talking about something, but he's not paying attention. A small group of people entered the room, one of them Hermione. And Hermione is clutching her beaded bag, the same ratty one she had carried since her last year at Hogwarts. Her fingers thrum against it nervously as she paced. And her vibes are setting off warning bells within our sexy Draco Malfoy. So then someone goes up to Hermione, and she nearly jumped him. With the man blocking his view, he could barely make out some sort of exchange, and then before he knew it, they disappeared together around the corner. She fucking Harry again? He snapped back to reality as Pansy snapped her fingers in front of his face. I was talking to you. You always are. And then he goes to seek out Theo. And he says, was that Hermione Granger I just saw? Theo confirms. She stops by sometimes. She never really stays long. And then he's looking around the room. There's a lot of liquor, people doing illegal substances. And then he says that he prefers to deal with his demons while he was sober. There's been enough mass. And that guy she was talking to, he said, trying to be as nonchalant as possible. All these women who keep trying to get your attention, and you're asking me about Granger? What is with you, mate? Humor me. Theo shrugged. His name is Gerald. He's my guy. Your guy? Draco says, as in, that's the one. Okay, that definitely explains things, Theo. Thank you. And then Theo walks away, and then Draco stares down the hall, and he's trying to process what in the world would bring Hermione Granger to seek out a dealer of illegal substances. A few moments later, Geralt came out of the room and down the hall, but Hermione did not follow. He watched as the dealer went about the room, catching up with people completely unaffected, and then Draco's muttering curses under his breath and made his way towards Granger. When he opened the door, he was surprised to see that she wasn't alone inside the room. There are a few people of various stages of ecstasy, and they didn't acknowledge him at all. Some of them did, but most of them didn't, and one of them did a double take. Her brown eyes opened wide, but she didn't comment on his arrival. He said nothing as he took a seat on the floor next to her. Someone passed a vial to her, and she took it tentatively. He could tell she wasn't sure if she wanted him to witness this side of her. He took it from her and tipped it to his lips. The liquid was sweet, with a smoky aftertaste, smoothly coating his mouth like honey. He could feel the warmth of its effects spread through his body quickly, and then passed it to her. And then she took a hit, and she smiled at him, and then he notes that she isn't anything like the bushy-haired girl from their youth. This person next to him was a stranger. And then the potion starts to take effect, and he says, never thought I'd be getting high with Hermione Granger. She rolls her eyes and says, if I had a nut for everyone who's said that to me over the years, I might be as rich as you. Is this what you do on your spare time? You're not my father. You're not even my friend, for that matter. If you're just going to judge me, please leave me alone. I told you before I'd like to be your friend, no judgment. Why? And then he shrugs. Because you look like you need one. I need a lot of things. I need a way to skip tomorrow. What's tomorrow? And then she says, James' birthday at the Burrow. Ah, he said. And then he says, he could vaguely remember the redhead mentioning something about the next weekend. Doesn't even call her Ginny, just the redhead. A Weaslette. And is that a bad thing? I thought people liked going to their friends' places. She sighed heavily and worried at her bottom lip. Draco looked away as he felt his cock twitch, wishing it was his lips between her teeth. Okay. Everyone's got someone, and most of them have their own kids. And then there's me. No love life, no career, no kids. Girl, maybe if you weren't fucking all these people who have wives, that would not be the case. I don't know. Just a thought. Who would have thought, he mused, Hermione Granger, the black sheep of the Golden Trio. And then she says, come with me tomorrow. He says, I'm not friends with those people. That is a giant no thank you. But as my friend... Oh, we're friends now, are we? She tapped his shirt before letting her hands slide up to rest on either side of his neck. I'll make it worth your while. Girl, this is why you don't have a husband. His eyes darkened and his jaw ticked at the offer. He hardened all over again and wondered if she could feel it. I'll go with you, but as friends. A lovely offer as it is. There's no need to trade those types of favors with me. And then she shrugged. Will you let me take you home? And then she nods. And then he caught Theo's attention and waved goodbye. He knew Theo would take one look at Granger and know he was making sure that she was safe. However, Pansy did not know, and he smirked as he heard her screech of protest. And Theo, Pansy, girl. So he actually doesn't know where she lives, so he can't apparate them there. So he actually hails a muggle cab after several attempts to get an address from her. Oh, and then she curled up against him in the back of the cab. He was mildly worried at the slightly comatose behavior she displayed. but he was glad that he was the one that was with her. She had experienced enough trauma in this world, some of it at his own hand. He didn't need anyone else contributing to that. Oh, we love our dark prince. Okay, I guess somehow he does find where her place is. And he walked her to the door and unlocked the door with his wand. And then I guess when they get in, she kind of comes out of the trance she was in. And then she asks, so you'll come tomorrow? What time should I pick you up? 11, please. Do I need to bring anything? Oh, and then she gave him a hug and said thank you. And then he says, just looking out for my friends. She lifted her head and they both held still. Oh, and then she was looking at his lips. Oh my God, and then he started to move in. And then their lips melted. She melted against him. His arm slid around her and drew her in. Their mouths moved slowly, both savoring the moment. Oh God, she's gonna throw up. A hiccup from Hermione broke the spell and she stepped back. And then they laughed. I guess that's my cue. See you in the morning. Okay. Oh my God. Someone comments, will she overcome her addiction in the end? Okay, that's where I'm going to end it. So next episode, which I'll probably film later, will be little James's party. They already kissed. This is moving so fast. Anyways, thank you for listening to this first episode of this version of the Raise Mary Hell podcast. We'll continue on this way for this story. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this. I'm just like kind of doing the things that I want to do. So yeah, anyways, I hope you guys have a lovely evening, and I'm going to eat a hot dog now, so.
It makes me want a hot dog real bad.